Going to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for June the 18th, 2018. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of June 4th, 2018.
After reviewing the minutes, are there any corrections or additions?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that we approve the minutes. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 1 passed. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments May 31st, 2018 through June 13th, 2018.
Do we have a report from the Purchasing Committee?
Yes, the Purchasing Committee did meet this afternoon, did review claims, and would recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 2 passed. Item number 3, please.
Receive report from staff and the Department of Human Services on zoning regulations and licensing for daycare facilities and provide direction to staff or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin.
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, this is a continuation from the June 7th Public Works meeting. At that meeting, staff was directed to invite a representative from the Department of Human Services to address state licensing requirements within Oklahoma, and also to discuss whether those licenses supersede zoning regulations within communities. Jennifer Mallory with DHS is present. She's responsible for the licensing within Muskogee County and I think many other counties within Oklahoma. I'll get to her in just a second and let her answer your questions. It was also requested that staff provide a map displaying the locations of all daycare centers within the city limits. In your packet was a map. It was reduced down so small it was very difficult to see, so we put a copy of it in the Dropbox for you to review. It showed 38 facilities. 17 of those facilities are daycare centers, larger 8 or more children. 21 of those facilities are daycare homes, 7 or fewer children. We was also asked to find out information from other cities about traffic for daycare homes within a neighborhood. The only thing we was able to find is some cities restrict the number of trips to a daycare home if it's within a residential neighborhood. For example, one city said an average of 1 vehicle per hour between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Some cities have some requirements like that.
And that was an average.
Yes, an
Okay.
average. So I guess you could have 6 in the morning and 6 in the evening.
Thank you.
Additionally, we was asked to provide zoning regulations and requirements from surrounding communities. In your packet is that information. I think there's 13 total communities that we included in the packet. Additionally, we was asked to place any information provided by the community speakers, Ms. Thomas and Ms. Logan, who spoke at the Public Works Committee. Any information they provided. Ms. Logan provided 2 documents. One was the home occupation requirements for Wagner, and the second item was a list of daycare centers within Cherokee County, and those were included in your packet. As previously stated, staff does not recommend increasing the number of children within a residential neighborhood or within a daycare within a residential neighborhood from 7 to 12. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have on any of the information we provided in your packet. But first, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, I'd like to ask Ms. Mallory to come up and answer any questions about licensing requirements and if that license supersedes zoning regulations for cities.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello. I'm Jennifer Mallory, and I'm a licensing supervisor, and I'm housed here in Muskogee County. I cover from Muskogee County to Oklahoma City and then down to McLean County. Any questions?
Well, I guess a question I've got is we were a little unsure between what DHS allows in a daycare center or daycare home and whether that had any, whether that superseded a city ordinance or a city zoning requirement as far as what they would allow in terms of number of children.
When we license daycare homes, they make application to us, and one of the first things that we speak to them about is contacting their city zoning to make sure that it is approved. Not every worker will know what the city ordinances are, so we put that on the responsibility of the applicant. Our requirements do not even talk about zoning issues. Ours are the regulations as far as the professional development that they have to follow, safety and health issues.
So from the state's perspective, and what is the maximum for?
For a family child care home, it's 7, and for a large family child care home, it's up to 12,
Okay.
depending on how many assistants they have.
And then for a business, a facility, or a large school like daycare, is that?
There's a lot of factors. It depends on how many teachers they have, what their square footage is, their toilets and sink ratios.
So some of those may have 20 to 30 children, and if they're all the ratios and the size of the facility and all that works out right, then that's just fine.
Yes.
So it's 7 to 8 for a small residential.
1 to 7 for
1 to
a regular family child care home, and 8 to 12 for a large family child care home.
Okay. What do you define a small home and large home in square footage, or?
Square footage, they have to have more professional development. They have to have a assistant that falls under the qualifications and goes through the background checks. Just because somebody is considered a large family child care home, they don't have to keep up to 12. They can keep any number depending on what their enrollment is. But if they keep up to 12, they have to follow the guidelines for how many assistants they have and what their ratios are. It also depends on what the ages of the children are.
Okay. On a large home, do you have parameters of square footage, or okay, what are those?
Yes, for a large home, let me tab to it. They have to follow all of the requirements for a regular family child care home, but there are a few more exceptions. They cannot be in a mobile home unless it's approved by the fire department. There's age restrictions. Outdoor space has to be at least 75 square feet per child. And then depending on what the age of the children are, it tells you how many caregivers that they can have. But was there any other?
Well, I'm just curious, and I'm not necessarily so interested in what ages of children or such qualifications that are mandated by the state, and for good reason. But I'm just wondering if you guys say, or if you don't, a large home would be 2,500 square feet or larger, or would it be 1,200 square feet or larger, or do you guys even identify it in that way?
It also depends on what rooms they're going to use for childcare. Just because a home is 2,500 square feet doesn't mean that they can use all of the rooms for childcare. We don't allow them to use kitchens, bathrooms in their capacity. They may choose not to use some rooms. So there are instances where a home may be too small.
Even though it's a large home? Okay. 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 I think that answers my questions. I sure appreciate you taking the time.
I had one additional question. So you license based off of your regulations, but that doesn't really pertain to the zoning of the building. You don't care necessarily if it's zoned commercial or if it's zoned residential or whatever. That's up to the city
Right.
to decide, and you decide whether it meets the specifications for childcare.
Correct.
So our job is to say it's zoned properly, and your job is to license it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anything
Any
else?
other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have citizens who have signed up to speak. If the council would like to pledge of hearing them before we make discussion. Okay. Mr. Philip Peck, and each of you will have 5 minutes to speak on this subject matter. Mr. Philip Peck.
Hi, my name is Phil Pack, and my wife and I moved to Muskogee almost 30 years ago and raised our family in a 100-year-old two-story on Boston Street. Several years ago, with kids grown and too many empty bedrooms and all of them upstairs, we began looking for a smaller one-level home on the west side of Muskogee with an attached garage. We preferred the Honor Heights area since nicer, moderately priced homes in good neighborhoods are harder to find on the west side, and we preferred the west side. 2.5 years ago, we bought a house on Denison and spent almost 2 years gutting and remodeling a great deal of the center of the house. Often when I arrived in the evening to work on the house, I noticed a pile of garbage near the curb just north of our driveway, almost always a trash bag torn open, with paper plates, plasticware, soiled diapers and wipes, and fast food containers. It took weeks of observation to finally notice a little black and white dog trotting around the intersection of 45th and Denison, and occasionally south of Denison on 45th. Month after month, I picked up the trash from nearly the same spot, wondering whether someone was maliciously dumping litter there, but the tearing open of the bags indicated that an animal was the culprit. Then on days when there was a strong south wind, similar garbage would blow up 45th Street into my front yard. Finally, I was there on a trash pickup day and noticed the dog and the piles of trash in Ms. Logan's driveway and on the ground around her dumpster. Have some pictures there if you'd like. The south wind was blowing all the loose, unbagged litter out of the top of the overstuffed dumpster, and loose trash was scattered in her yard and driveway and up the street into my yard. The trash truck workers a number of weeks would spend several extra minutes just picking up loose trash that had scattered around the dumpster. We received a notice as we were finishing the major part of the remodeling that a request had been filed with the City Council to expand Ms. Logan's daycare business, and we moved into the house in October and almost immediately came to the first City Council meeting addressing this request. This is the third such meeting. There's another home daycare next door to Ms. Logan and directly across the street from us. If Ms. Logan is allowed to expand her daycare, there's nothing to stop our closer neighbor from doing the same thing. Understand, these are both fine ladies and good neighbors, and I'm glad they're our neighbors. However, I didn't spend 5 years of searching and saving, 2 years of gutting and rebuilding in a nice, quiet neighborhood, only to have 2 expanded daycare homes across the street. These operators are welcome to purchase my old house on Boston and expand their business. It's in a noisier neighborhood close to other businesses and public buildings, none of which are here on our quiet blocks of Denison. And I noticed what Councilman Coleman wrote that was quoted in the Saturday paper. It dawned on me that just as ODOT pushing its will on the people of Muskogee should be resisted, as he said so eloquently Saturday, I just don't believe the city should bend the rules to push expanded home daycare on stable, quiet neighborhoods in Honor Heights. Please exercise sanity and good judgment and stick to the existing interpretation of the code that's already on the books here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Pack, would you give your address as well?
I'm sorry.
4500 Denison. I'm catty-cornered across.
Well, we just, for the record, we need the name and address, and we didn't get that in the beginning.
Okay. All right.
And if you wanted to pass those pictures around, you can circulate them around here.
At each side, and you all can pass those around a bit. Go this way with those.
Thank you, Mr. Peck. At this time, we'll call Ms. Cassandra Logan, and we'll need you to state your address. And you have 5 minutes to speak on this subject matter.
I'm Cassandra Logan. I stay at 4421 Denison Street. So these pictures that he is presenting, if it's a dog, then what can I do about a dog? And if you look on this picture, back in May of last year, whenever the storm came, a tree fell on my house and it tore up my whole fencing. So that's how all of that got done. A tornado came and it ripped everything down. So I got brand new fencing around my house, and it's even stained. And then the Muskogee fencing just left. I was on the waiting list for like 2 months, so they just left my house this past Friday, and so they properly fixed my gate to where it slides. So my fence doesn't look like this anymore. That's when the storm came in and the tornado, and there was a big old tree on the side of my house, and it actually splitted the tree, and my house had caved in. So I can't do nothing about a dog or anything that's running around the neighborhood. All I can do is call the dog pound and see if they'll come out and come get it. So that's what those pictures are. I don't have any control over a storm or a tornado coming in and knocking my tree down. I had no control over any of that. So that's what those pictures, that's what y'all are seeing. My fence does not look anything like that. But, I mean, I would like to see it approved. I mean, I think I have a good enough house for it. I think my backyard is nice. I mean, the fencing is properly like it should be. These pictures, I mean, I guess that's what neighbors do. I don't know. But if I set my trash out and then a dog go gets it and tear it up, I mean, what can I do about that? That means there's animals running around the neighborhood that their owners can't even get control of. I don't own any pets. I have no pets at all. So it's neighbors behind me that have pets and it's neighbors in front of me that have pets. But I have no control over any of that. So if I set my trash out for Wednesday morning for them to come get it, and by the time I wake up, if I set it out Tuesday night, by the time I wake up Wednesday, it's scattered. I go pick it up. And no, the city of Muskogee don't pick up trash. But if y'all would like to come see my house, then y'all are more than welcome to. Mr. Van that came by there, he came by there earlier, so I mean he knows what my house looks like. It doesn't. My fence. I mean, if you can tell, it looked like the fence is getting worked on. I mean, that's just plain as day. That's fresh cedar wood, so it doesn't look anything like that anymore. But I mean, if it's open, I mean, if y'all can see if it's open that much, then I don't know why come a dog can't get in something like that. I was getting it worked on. So I mean, I don't have anything to say about that. But as far as the daycare go, I mean, like Ms. Jennifer said, as long as you meet the requirements and as long as you're fully staffed, then I mean, they don't see no problem with it, which I shouldn't see no problem with either. But I mean, that's up to you guys to, I mean, go ahead and say okay. But other than that, I mean, I have nothing else to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One thing I'd like to say is, regardless of any decisions this council makes on making changes or not, it pleases me to hear the goodwill and the compliments of the neighbors in this neighborhood. Everybody thinks everybody's a good neighbor. Everybody seems to respect one another, and there's an issue on whether some of the neighborhood would be in favor of a rezoning or what have you. But regardless of that, it pleases me to see that the neighbors are all complimentary of one another as human beings and neighbors, and I appreciate. That's awful nice. It's kind of refreshing.
Do we have Demetria Thomas? She's not here. Mr. Jim Ritchie, please state your address, and you have 5 minutes to speak on this item.
My name is James Ritchie. I live at 4410 Denison. I've lived there since December of 2006. And I moved to that neighborhood from North 15th Street, 15th and Denison. I think Honor Heights is an extremely quiet neighborhood and is always has been. I oppose rezoning a residential neighborhood. What happens if this family leaves, or you rezone it and the one across the street from her wants it rezoned, and the next thing you know, we have a lot of people in town wanting the same rezoning issues. You know, there's, I believe, and I could be corrected, but you know, there's future land use map and all this stuff that the city puts a lot of hard work into to figure out where we need to be, how we're going to get there. And this is a residential neighborhood, and we need to keep it that way. It is quiet. And I also have no problem with Mrs. Logan. She's a great neighbor. But I am opposed to having that many more children, that many more cars coming up and down the street. It's a quiet neighborhood. And, you know, we really want to keep it that way. So I ask that you don't rezone it at all. Leave it just like it is and leave that neighborhood a quiet neighborhood. Thank you.
That's all the citizens we have signed up to speak, so I guess the discussion at this time is in the hands of the council.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Garvin, what did you find out on the traffic study?
The only thing we found, which I was asked to look at other cities as it relates to daycares within residential areas. And again, the only thing we was found is that a couple of cities limit the number of trips to and from a daycare during certain time frames. That's the only information we was able to find. No one's done any type of traffic study or anything like that for a daycare center in a residential neighborhood.
What do you think Ms. Logan's traffic study would be? Do you have any idea?
I wouldn't have any idea.
Did you even ask?
Do what?
Did you even ask her?
I would ask a traffic consultant to look into it.
Could Ms. Logan come back up to the mic for a minute?
If you want a traffic study.
Could Ms. Logan come back up to the mic for a minute? We're going to do our homework. We need to do our homework and do our homework well. Ms. Logan, tell Mr. Garvin and tell this committee here what kind of traffic comes to your house. I mean, how do your kids get there for his traffic? How do your kids get there? Because I know they asked this question. I ain't heard it yet.
I pick them up and drop them off, unless it's newcomers. But I have the transit bus. They actually comes to my house, which is Muskogee DHS. Their transit bus. They come in, they drop their kids off, and then pick them up. But all my other kids, I pick them up and I drop them off. Unless there's newcomers that need, like, to come over, like, get applications, or they want to come look at the daycare, you know, to see if they would like for their kids to come.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Another thing is that when I was over Miss Logan's house, and I went inside her house, and I went through her daycare, and I can understand the zoning. I mean, people may not want commercial zoning. And so, that's the person's prerogative. And it's too bad that's in a residential neighborhood. As nice as her place is, I looked at the pictures. Yeah. People's going to show you things when something's bad, but they don't show you something when it's good. So when I went to her home, everything in it looks just as neat. You can go to her house right now. Lawn's manicured. She's got one of the nicest places in Arnold Heights. But because the situation is, it's in Arnold Heights. Just like this gentleman was talking about, he was in Boston. Oh, it'd been fine on Boston Street or over in Midland Valley where I used to live. It'd be fine over there because it's not in a up-to-do classic neighborhood. Arnold Heights is considered like Country Club, it's a classy neighborhood. But when you go to some of these other neighborhoods, this wouldn't be a problem. And I just hate to see, I know you said 12 kids. Back in the old days, people had 17, 18 kids. I guess 17, 18 kids wouldn't have worked at Arnold Heights. That'd have been too many kids. I guess Arnold Heights then, I don't know what they would have done, how you got rid of the kids. Because to me, those 12 kids is no more than those 7 kids. That's why I can't understand. I just don't, because like I said, old days, people had a lot of kids in their backyard. And I just wonder if those kids was actually Miss Logan's 12 kids, would we be under the same situation here? You try to get rid of her 12 kids because it's not zoned properly? I mean, I'm just curious about that. But just like I say, it depends on what part of town you live in order for this to be on our agenda here and have to go through all of this. But we's in another section of town, this issue right here wouldn't matter. She could have all the amount of kids she wanted. I guarantee it. But I commend you, Ms. Logan, for trying, because I know what you're going through. I know what you're going through. Your neighbors seem like they love you and like you. And I talked to the doctor, beside you. He likes you. I talked to him, the other day. And he has a lot of property over there. And he keeps his property up too. And he was definitely against this commercial zoning also. But Like I said, if you've been in the right different neighborhood, these neighbors wouldn't be up here, and we wouldn't have to go through all of this. But I commend you for keeping your property up. And like I say, those pictures that went around, that was the dog, because, hey, I passed by your house. My fiance lives over in your community, and she keeps her place just like you. I passed by your property many times, and I ain't seen no trash, nothing in your yard, and I can't understand. I ain't heard a kid. So I checked it out pretty well. But I understand the neighbors that come up here, and I commend you for coming up here. I'm not trashing y'all or trying to be on y'all, but I'm just saying, if you had 12 kids when you was coming up as a kid, you had 12 brothers and sisters, hey, I guess y'all got rid of them. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
I've got an observation, and I'll respectfully explain to Mr. Van that this is quite simply an issue of rezoning a residential area into commercial. And I think this body may have heartburn on any neighborhood in this community, and heartburn on setting a precedent of rezoning any residential neighborhood to commercial. Now, I might add that Miss Logan appears to be a very competent and very capable young lady, and I suspect if she could, or if she would, have a commercial facility somewhere, that she could probably be a better operator than most other operators in town. She's got a lot going on, and I'm going to wish her the best. But not to confuse this issue, it's just strictly rezoning commercial into the middle of a residential neighborhood, and whether people complained in any particular neighborhood or not, I think that staff and this body would have a little bit of heartburn in opting to put commercial in the middle of a residential island. And I think that's all it boils down to. All the personalities out of it, everything out of it. And there's no doubt that this lady keeps up a nice home, and there's no doubt that she's an incredible operator, but it's not the daycare. It's really boils down to commercial zoning in the middle of a residential area, which is a dangerous road to go down. And I think that's all it boils down to.
Okay, Councilman McHale, I appreciate your comments, but on some things I agree with you, on some things I don't. That's just why we all have our own opinions.
Oh, sure.
That's just the way life is.
Sure.
But like I say, it was another situation before I even became a councilman. It was something else about a daycare I can't recall. Out there in Honor Heights, I think they got rid of those people too. But then they went to the other side of the track. But like I say, it's just where you live. That's all. That's a fact. Turn the floor back over to Mr. Chairman.
At this point, we received a report, so I don't know if there's any action that wants to be taken or needed to be taken by the council.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we would make no change on the zoning requirements for home daycare classification.
Is that what you're wanting to do?
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion on the motion?
So a yes vote would mean that we're denying it, right? Okay.
Well, let's clarify one thing. There's not an application for rezoning. That has already been decided. What's actually being considered is whether you all want to direct staff to go back and relax the zoning requirements to allow a large daycare in a residential area. So the yes vote would be to make no change to those existing regulations.
That's what I was making sure of. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Kale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
No.
Derek Reed,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item 3 passed. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval of the Community Development Block Grant 2018 application documents, Citizen Participation Plan, Applicant Resolution, and Leverage Resolution, Resolution number 2732, committing up to $103,887 as leverage all relating to the Oklahoma Department of Commerce Small Cities Set-Aside Grant Fund Program, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin?
Ms. Callahan's the one in charge of the CDBG grant, so I'll let her take over this.
He's more than willing to, though. Because even just saying the Community Development Block Grant Small City Set Aside, this is our application process for the 2018 grant funds. And at this time, we've been allocated $103,887 after they did a reallocation after communities did not send in the letter of intent. So it is a application requirement to have a public hearing, which will be Monday during City Council. And at that time and this time, we approve the application documents, which are the Citizen Participation Plan, the resolution for the leverage, and then a separate resolution, which is just the Department of Commerce resolution that does say that we will follow the guidelines of the grant process. And the I've attached the public hearing notice that will show that it is going, the public hearing will be Monday. We have an application, a public hearing, and then we're required to do a closeout public hearing. And at that time, we explain what we would like to use the funding for, which again would be demolition. So if you have any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Thank you, Tish. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 4 passed. Item number 5, please.
Consider approval of the renewal of a professional service agreement beginning July 1, 2018, ending June 30th, 2019, with Michael Gilliard, attorney at law, to provide representation for the City of Muskogee in Workers' Compensation Court, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, these next few items are the renewals of our professional services agreement for outside counsel. On this particular one, this is for Mike Gilliard. Mr. Gilliard has represented the city for at least 10 years that I know of in workers' compensation cases. Recently, though, he has relocated firms. He left a firm that he had on his own and went to work for someone else. And as a result, he's got fewer attorneys that work in the specialized workers' compensation area. So if you'll see in the next item, we also have a professional services agreement for Mike Finnerty. So these two attorneys will not, even though we're adding a new attorney, the cost will be the exact same, if not less. As you all know, our workers' comp cases are dropping. I don't want to say dramatically, but we are experiencing more efficiency and costs, and so we expect those to come along as part of our legal representation. The total amount we spent on legal expenses in the last fiscal year was $18,604.67. That came out of the Workers' Compensation Fund. And so we don't anticipate that number would increase, despite the fact that we're also adding Mr. Finnerty. What we do want is to have a second attorney who's available in case Mr. Gilliard has a conflict or if he's unavailable. So having someone local will be useful in that regard. Further, this is one of the mechanisms for for us to be able to get somebody who's local as well. Sometimes it's a little bit easier when you're dealing with someone who's local, and we actually got a pretty good rate on Mr. Finnerty's schedule as well. Since we are talking about Mr. Gilliard's contract, we do have a few increases, which were done as a result of the changing of his firm. His hourly rate has gone up from $110 to $125, and the cost to unrepresented joint petition has gone from $250 to $400. But we don't think that these expenses will make any impact on the budget based upon our reduced workers' compensation expenses. And combining that with our safety program, we think there'll be fewer and fewer needs for it. Obviously, there'll always be some, but we think the frequency of those claims will be more reduced. Other than that, we propose to recommend renewing the contract with Mike Gilliard, and then I'll talk about Mr. Finnerty in more detail in the next item. Happy to answer any questions.
I have a question.
Yep.
Just because the people out there watching us on TV was wondering why we're not going to ask this question, I'm sure the other city councilmen are. Is this not something that we can do in-house?
Yes. Of course, that reduces the amount of services I can provide otherwise. So it's all about how you want my time spent.
I was thinking more like Councilman Beasley could pick up the slack.
Well, he does a lot of things other than that. He handles all of our tort claim litigation and whatnot. But we have found that since workers' compensation is much more form-driven and specialized, we think it is much more efficient to utilize these outsourced attorneys to do this. In particular, since Mr. Gilliard is already in Tulsa, that does save quite a bit on mileage as well. And because that would take Mr. Beasy or myself out of the office several days a week for at least half a day or more. So, it's one of those things where we can do any number of things that you want us to, but it just requires prioritizing our time for what we need to focus on. That answer your question?
Yes, sir.
I move the approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 5 passed. Item number 6.
Consider approval of a professional service agreement beginning July 1, 2018, ending June 30th, 2019, with Mr. Michael Finnerty, Attorney at Law, to provide representation for the City of Muskogee in Workers' Compensation Court or take other necessary action.
Roy?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, as I referenced in the earlier item, we request that the council approve a professional services agreement with Mr. Finnerty as well. As I indicated, we are not asking, or we did not ask in the budget that was approved, an increase in that. What we intend to do is split the cost that we have for both of those attorneys, having one available or the other available in case there's a conflict. And so with that, I recommend approval. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 6 passed. Item number 7, please.
Consider approval of a professional service agreement with Betty Other Williams to provide representation for the City of Muskogee in 4 inverse condemnation lawsuits filed in Muskogee County District Court, styled England versus City of Muskogee, case number CV 200720. Lacey versus City of Muskogee, case number CV 20071377. Taft versus City of Muskogee, case number CJ 20071410. Vaughn versus City of Muskogee, case number CJ 20071371, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement or take other necessary action.
Roy?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is a renewal for the employment of Betty Williams. As you know, she has represented the city on these inverse condemnation cases long before I took over. So we propose to continue with Ms. Williams. There have been no changes to her professional services agreement from the prior years. Happy to answer any questions, but I do recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 7 passed. Item number 8, please.
Consider approval to renew a professional service agreement with Kate and Hammond's Law Firm to provide representation for the City of Muskogee in 7 inverse condemnation lawsuits filed in Muskogee County District Court. Michael and Lori Carmen versus City of Muskogee, case number CJ 2011168. Stanley and Linda Clark versus City of Muskogee, case number CJ 2011164. W.C. Cochran versus City of Muskogee, case number CJ 2011466. Harold and Leanne Cox versus City of Muskogee, case number CJ 2011465. Jerry and Marie Maxey versus City of Muskogee, CJ 11469. Bobby and Linda Scoggins versus City of Muskogee, CJ 11467. Crystal Thompson versus City of Muskogee, CJ 11478. And the civil case titled Lois Ivy versus City of Muskogee, CV 071730, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement.
Roy?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this final contract is for the group of cases that we've identified and commonly known as the Meadows lawsuits. As many of you may remember, we had originally retained Mr. Bart Fite to handle these cases, but as a result, it was necessary to obviously select new counsel, which we did last year, and we've been very pleased with Attorney Cliff Cates' representation in these cases, and with that, I recommend approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 8 passed. Item number 9, please.
Consider approval to renew the municipal liability insurance contract with Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group and the amount of $251,710 for policy year July 1, 2018 through June 30, 2019, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is a renewal of our OMAG general liability policy. Based on the premium this year, we did experience an increase of $32,692. The reason for that increase has nothing to do with our claims experience, but that we did add liability insurance for fire vehicles and sanitation vehicles. So that was added mid-year last year. So as a result, when we got the renewal, it included that increase. I do recommend approval. However, I do want to make one other mention. The municipal property and rolling stock insurance that we have on item number 10 represents about a $110,000 decrease. So when we put all of our insurance costs together, we're still down about $70,000 from previous fiscal year. So with that, I do recommend approval of renewing the municipal liability insurance with Oklahoma Mutual Assurance Group.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 9 passed. Item number 10.
Consider approval to renew the municipal property and rolling stock insurance from Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group in the amount of $177,410 for policy year July 1, 2018 through June 30th, 2019, or take other necessary action.
Who's going to take this one?
I'll take this one.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is a renewal of our property insurance. Some of you on the council for the last several years may remember that one of the challenges we had with our property insurance is that anytime we had a claim, our deductible was $50,000. So that made it really one of those claims that you would only use for something catastrophic. So within the last couple of years, our treasurer's office began to work with OMAG and other insurers to see if we could reduce that amount of deductible so that the insurance was much more useful for day-to-day activities in case we had a weather-related event that was not catastrophic. And from that point, we have enjoyed a deductible of $5,000, which is significant. Which is a significant savings from the $50,000. So I do recommend that we approve this. The $177,410 represents a reduction of $110,000. That's because there was coverage for $10 million for the Honeywell meters, which upon review of the Honeywell contract and the promissory note was unnecessary coverage. And so that was reduced, and so that has saved us a significant amount of money on our property insurance. So as I said, in all insurance combined, we're saving approximately $70,000 from last year. Happy to answer any questions, and I recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 10 passed. Item number 11, please.
Consider approval of awarding construction contract to Tonto Construction Incorporated for the Junction Area Wastewater Collection System improvements in the amount of $249,690 as the lowest best bid, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and committee. This is part of our OWRB sewer work, the OWRB loan we approved. This is for junction area collection area for sanitary sewer, deteriorated lines that need to be replaced that were identified initially in the loan. We got bids. The bids lower than the estimate, and the bids checked out to be good. And we're happy with the bids, and we recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Riley and Mrs. Assistant Manager Stewart, Mr. City Manager. This is one project I'm glad is going through because this is in Ward 3, and on South 4th Street we have nothing but problems. And Mr. Stewart and Mr. Riley, you can contest to that. We've been in those people's homes, so I'm glad this is going to give them some relief. So I'd just like to thank them for all their hard work, for all of y'all for all your hard work.
Thank you, and I want to definitely commend the staff. And this again is part of the OWRB loan program that we rolled out a while back, and it takes a while to get it through the process. But this is we're going to be able to go do some work now, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Like I said, my constituents, I know they're excited about it. So thank you. Turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 11 passed. Item number 12.
Consider approval of awarding construction contract to Cook Consulting LLC for the West Side Area Wastewater Collection System improvements in the amount of $1,252,208 as the lowest best bid, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and committee. This again is another OWRB project from the OWRB loan for collection systems. We'll be rolling out a lot of these as the design has been completed, and we're getting projects out to bid. So we're going to see a lot of work throughout the city. This is on the west side collection system. Again, identified as some very deteriorated aged lines that need to be replaced. The low bid was Cook Consulting, $300,000 less than the engineer's estimate, and in line with the other bids, this checks out is a good bid, and we're happy with it, and we recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 12 passed. Item number 13, please.
Consider approval of awarding a construction contract to L&L Construction for the Phase 1 wastewater treatment plant improvements in the amount of $2,843,375 as the lowest best bid, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and committee. Again, this is another OWRB loan. This is for at the sewer plant. Much needed improvements within the plant, replacing a significant number of pumps. The big giant pumps that pump the water up from the raw water where it comes in up into the station. So this right now we're limited at that area because we've got 2 of the 5 pumps working. So this is a much needed project. It's $2.8 million. It's lower than the estimate. The bids came in very good, and we're very happy with L&L Construction, and we recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 13 passed. Item number 14.
Consider approval of awarding lowest bid to Mid-State Traffic Control in the amount of $39,520 for LED and backplate signal project, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and committee. This year we put a bid out because we had a significant number of intersections where the LED signals are getting dim. They've pretty much reached their useful life. You may have noticed it in some of these intersections. We're also adding back plates, and then we're going to upgrade the pedestrian crossings at York and Chandler to a countdown LED signals. The intersections getting LED heads are 32nd and Broadway, York and Chandler, 32nd and Shawnee, 32nd and Westville Mogi, York and Shawnee, and Main and Shawnee, and the new backplates are at 32nd and Broadway and York and Chandler. The bids came in in a good range. We have the money in our signal and repair maintenance account, and we recommend approval.
Thank you.
Move the approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 14 passed. Item number 15.
Consider approval of awarding to the lowest best bid to ICM in the amount of $53,940 for hydro excavator with fire hydrant valve exerciser, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley?
Yes, a few months ago, we came to you and you approved the award of a bid to Key Equipment for the valve exerciser that we're in need of in the water distribution department. Key Equipment ended up withdrawing their bid. They weren't able to honor what they bid, so we've talked to ICM, and they've agreed to honor their bid at this time. We think the best way to handle it is just to take the second bid, and we recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout. Yes. Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 15 passed. Item number 16.
Consider approval of awarding the lowest best bid for chemicals used in the water treatment plant to Brentag Southwest, Univar USA, Hawkins Incorporated, DNF Services, Evoqua Water Technologies, Penco Inc., and Petrochemical, more particularly described as attached, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Riley?
Yes, Mr. Chairman and committee, this is our yearly bid for chemicals for the water plant, the chemicals that are used in the water. They typically end up being awarded this way with multiple companies, the lowest bid for each product, and that's how we order it, and that's the typical. Prices are well within line. We're happy with the prices, and we recommend approval.
Are they higher or lower prices this year?
They're right in line with what they were last year. There's not a big difference. The pennies, so.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 16 passed. Item number 17.
Consider approval of awarding a purchase from a National Joint Powers Alliance Cooperative Purchasing for a submersible hydraulic water pump to Thompson Pump in the amount of $45,356, or take other necessary action.
We're going to let you go one more time, but you just spent a lot of our money today.
Okay.
Riley?
Quite a bit, haven't I? Mr. Chairman and committee, this is a budgeted item from the 2017-18 budget year, the current year. It's an item that we have been renting as needed. It's a large trailered portable pump that we use to pump out when we have a significant water leak, so we can work on it. We felt it was needed at that time to have our own piece of this equipment so we can get it out there at night when in emergencies. So it was budgeted. We're using the NJPA Alliance for the purchase of Thompson Pump, and we're happy with the price, and we recommend approval. It's within budget. So.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 17 passed. Item number 18.
Consider approval of receiving donated funds for the month of April 2018 in the amount of $286 for the city's animal shelter sponsorship program as per the attached list, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Chairman, we received $286 in donations for our sponsorship program, which goes into spay and neuter. So I would urge that the council accept the $286.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
All right, number 18 passed, and that is the final item for the Finance Committee meeting for today.
We will now consider ourselves in Public Works Committee. Item number 1.
Johnson, before we get started on that agenda, can I go ahead and do the employee of
Yes.
the month? She is not going to be able to be here today. Lori Polson is our employee of the month. Lori began working in the city in 1999 as a concessions manager. That time, the concessions manager position was a seasonal position over the baseball fields, and that eventually evolved in a full-time position over Hatbox Concessions and Water Park Concessions. Over the past 10 years, Lori's had real fun, has been during the summertime when she gets to hire as many as 15 to 45 different employees. In her free time, Lori enjoys spending time with her granddaughters and also enjoys watching her son play football as he is on a traveling team. For her son's football league, Lori has traveled to various locations around the United States, including Missouri, Arkansas, West Virginia, and Texas, and will soon be traveling to Tennessee. Lori is excited to announce that she has another grandbaby on the way, which is due the end of September. She is anxiously awaiting finding out the gender of the new baby. Lori was anonymously nominated for this award, and since she cannot thank them personally, she would like to give a public thanks to whomever it was that nominated her. Lori was nominated for her proficiency of all assigned duties, promoting a pleasant working environment and being dependable. Congratulations, Lori, for being the June Employee of the Month.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We'll now consider ourselves in Public Works Committee. Item number 1.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of June 4th, 2018.
Any questions on the minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 2.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of ordinance number 4049A, rezoning the property located at 11 Beckman Drive, more particularly described in the ordinance, from R1 Single Family Residential to RA Agricultural Residential, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
We'll now consider ourselves in a public hearing. Mr. Garvin?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the applicant, James and Chelsea Wallingford, is requesting approval to rezone property from the R1 Single Family Residential District to the RA Residential Agricultural District. The property is located at 11 Beckman Drive. The reason for rezoning is to allow a large shop and a vegetable garden on the property. Just a side note, the RA will allow up to 2 animals to be located on the property. It's my understanding he doesn't plan on having any, but it is a possibility underneath the RA zone. Looking at the existing zoning land use within the area, starting with the site. Currently, the site is zoned R1 single family and a single family dwelling. To the north is zoned R1 single family dwelling. To the south is zoned A agricultural and is undeveloped property. To the east is zoned R1, a single family dwelling. And to the west is R1 single family and a single family dwelling. Now, if you look at the land use map, it does indicate single family residential within this area. The RA is a single family residential zone. It's just a large lot single family residential zone. It has to have 1 acre or more. Therefore, this request complies with the comprehensive plan land use map, and it's been recommended for approval by staff and planning commission. Be glad to answer any questions.
Did anybody come forth and ask questions about it at the meeting?
Received no phone calls or no one attended the meeting.
What's the notification? Is it 300 feet?
300 feet of the property,
And this will allow them to,
published in the paper.
this will allow them to have animals on that property?
It could allow up to 2 livestock, 2 animals on the property.
But not pigs.
Move the approval.
No pigs.
We've not received, hold on one second, we've not received any requests, so we'll first close the public hearing.
And then I move the approval.
Got a motion
Second.
and a second? Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Garvin. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
No.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item passes. Item number 3.
Consider approval of resolution number 2730, directing the filing and notification of the publication of supplement number 18 to the Muskogee City Code of Ordinances, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Tracy.
Mr. Chairman, members, this codification includes ordinances through November 2017, and this resolution will approve the adoption of the supplement, and I recommend approval.
Any questions?
Move for approval.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any other questions or clarifications needed? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item passes. Item number 4.
Consider approval of resolution number 2731, amending Appendix A to the City of Muskogee Code of Ordinances, wholesale customers' water rates, as per the attached, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and committee, this is another item that we're having before you to correct some things that are missing in Appendix A. When we redid it in 2005, unfortunately, we removed the part that addressed rural water customer rates. So this is simply putting it back in. There's no changes to it. It will be per 100 cubic feet, $1.69, and this item is going to be explained in more detail when Mr. Tucker does the next one, explaining the rural water contract rates. But again, no changes. This is simply making sure it's back in Appendix A so it can be administered through the contracts that Mr. Tucker is going to discuss with you. So we recommend approval. And again, no changes to this. It's just making sure it's put back in Appendix A where it was omitted in 2005, and we didn't pick that up when we did it last year. So
I think that was 2013, actually, is when it was omitted.
2013.
2013.
Mr. Stewart, does this have the, I want to say cost of living, but that's not right, CPI index change
No.
factored into it? And if not, why would we not include that?
No, and we are going to readdress this in the very near future when we do our major water projects and we do our loan. That will affect the amount of money that we're spending for the water lines and the production of water that goes to the rural water districts. But in our review of it, we discovered that the rates we're charging is appropriate. It does need to be as per the water that we make. It's got to be an exact, or not an exact amount, but a very similar amount to what it takes us to produce it. So we couldn't raise it. We did look at that. We looked at it in detail. Greg and Prague and I actually did a lot of research on it. But I will say, once again, we are going to be revisiting this real soon when we do our water loan application, because that will raise the amount that we're going to have to spend to produce that rural water. Did I say that good enough?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I know we looked at that a lot last time, and it's amazing when we touch something, we don't realize the ramifications later on that we omit something. Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
We very thoroughly researched that. So.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
All right.
I have a motion.
Move for approval.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second. Any other clarifications needed? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 4 passes. Item number 5.
Consider approval of 9 agreements with the following wholesale water users: Rural Water District Number 1, Rural Water District Number 2, Rural Water District Number 5, Rural Water District Number 6, Rural Water District Number 9, Haskell Public Works Authority, OK Public Works Authority, Porter Public Works Authority, and Taft Public Works Authority, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreements or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, every 2 years we review all of our outside water contracts for wholesale users, which includes all the rural water districts in the towns that we service. The amount of water that has been allocated per agreement has not changed, so we've not got any increases in expected water usage related to the allocation. And the rate, as we have said within the adopted resolution, has not changed. We discovered that was an issue when through our discussions with a couple of the rural water districts, they asked for copies of what the council's rate was on the water costs. Because each of the contracts and the ordinance requires that there be a set amount for a total allocation. So let's say we, and this is just a round number, we agree to sell Rural Water District 5 1 million gallons of water. Well, we set that up at a specific rate, and if they utilize more than that, then the rate is doubled. And so they're always looking very closely at what anticipated growth they have in their districts to, in advance, reach out to us and decide whether they need a higher allocation. So far, we didn't have any need to make those expansions, but we did need to go ahead and clean up that provision to include what the rate actually is so that we can provide that with them. As Mr. Stewart indicated, we're always looking at the rates to see whether the current is an appropriate rate, because as state law mandates, we can only charge our wholesale outside water customers the exact amount that it costs us to produce the water. And so based on the 2011 water study, which was recently reviewed by staff, that cost hasn't changed. But as Mr. Stewart indicated with some additional loans for infrastructure improvements, that may increase. These contracts each have a 30-day notice clause, so if for whatever reason the council deems it necessary to increase the costs per unit of rural water rates, then we provide 30 days notice to each one of these wholesale users, and then at the end of 30 days, then their rate will reflect the new rate that is charged should the council adopt that. And so I'm happy to answer any questions, but I do recommend approval.
So from what we just approved, we're talking about the water plant, the improvements we're talking about within the next year, correct?
Yeah, yes, we're talking about the
phase one.
Yeah, the phase
and
one.
then phase two is going to be probably another 6 months after that.
Correct.
So we would probably be re-looking at this a year from now.
Yeah, we do anticipate that even though there's not a change in the rate reflected in these contracts, that as Mr. Tucker pointed out, with that with that 30-day notice clause, we will be evaluating that and bringing that back to you if appropriate.
Thank you.
Because my biggest concern is that what is the cost versus the people that live inside the city limits? How much difference is that? If we're selling our water to the people that actually live in our city limits versus to what we're selling it to people outside of our city limits, if that's less, I'm not happy with that. That's just what I just like to look into that. If someone could get me those numbers, I would love to have those before next week. Because if we're charging the people that live in the rural areas less to use our water than it is the people inside of our city limits, I've got a problem with that.
It's less, but it's the law.
We're limited in what we can charge outside customers, and I don't know enough about the inside water rates to be able to articulate what the cost is.
We'll be able to put that together before next week.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that item? Do I have a motion?
Move the approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other clarifications? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston?
Yes.
Patrick Kale?
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
I'll vote yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item passes. Item number 6.
Consider approval of amended Council Policy 3-2-1, classification titles and descriptions, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Plunkett.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, we are revising our city council policy to include all non-uniformed employees, not just general employees. This policy was created at one point to include only general employees, which is the non-unionized folks of the city. And this policy revised includes, again, the non-unionized positions, so AFSCME and general employees. There are no other changes other than to include those non-unionized employees. We discovered during negotiations last year and during review of the city charter that we are required to have a policy for classifications and classification titles. So this policy incorporates non-unionized employees.
Titles and descriptions can be important. Any other clarifications needed?
Move for approval.
Got a motion? Second? Any other clarifications needed? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item number 6 passes. Item number 7.
Consider the appointment of Janie Cagle Boydston to serve a 2-year term on the City of Muskogee Foundation Board beginning August 1, 2018 and ending July 31, 2020, replacing Patrick Cale, or take other necessary action.
This would be my item. I had an appointment come open on the foundation, and I asked Ms. Boydston if she'd be willing to serve. This is has to be a council appointment, and I appreciate Ms. Boydston being willing to serve our community in another area and being willing to fill in that term on the foundation. That would be my recommendation. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Move for approval.
Second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any other items?
I just think she's going to be a wonderful addition to this board. She's a strong personality. She's outgoing. I think she's going to take care of our stuff on there.
I think that's despite the other councilwoman that's sitting on that board. Roll call.
Oh, Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
I agree, Ms. Boydston, you are going to be a great asset to this board.
Thank you.
And I know you've been on this board before you became a councilman.
That's true.
That's true. As I sit up here and I look around the room and I look at this council, I say to myself, fair is fair and unfair is unfair. I'm the only councilman sitting up here that's never been on the foundation board, and that's the truth. Every councilman up here besides Ms. Stout, she's new, and it won't take her long to get on it. But I'm just saying, you always overlook me. That's on other boards too. That's just how I feel up here. And you know how I feel, you need to realize how I feel, and I need to tell you how I feel. A closed mouth never get fed. And that's just how I feel. You overlook me. But that's okay. That's fine. I don't care if I'm not on a city board or anything, or a trustee board. That's fine. But Ms. Boydston, you do a great job, and I commend you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Johnson.
Item passes. Item number 7. Wait, we hadn't had
voted.
Let's have a vote. Item number 7. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Definitely.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item passes. Item number 8.
Consider the appointment of William Barnes to serve a 3-year term on the War Memorial Trust Authority beginning July 1, 2018 and ending on August 31, 2021, or take other necessary action.
Mayor Coburn.
William is a person that I've known maybe 4 years. Great person. I think there's no residency requirement with his appointment in this particular case on the War Memorial Board. I know he is very interested. He's been very involved with Congressman Mullins' office and a veterans advocate as well. So I move for his approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other comments? I would like to make a comment, and it's not regarding this one. We all as city council get appointments, and we all have that choice to make. I would ask that we all honor each other's choices. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Cale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Derek Reed,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries, Wayne.
Motion carries. We have public to be heard. I've received one request from Mr. Stephen Ezel. If you would give your name and address. It's a non-topic, so you have 3 minutes to address the Public Works.
Stephen Ezel, 6121 South 6th Street East. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm actually up here on this evening on an issue of very great safety concern. And this has actually been brought to my attention by several people who live within my my area. And that is the amount of brush and trees and stuff that have accumulated along the fence area of the old soccer field that's on the east side of South 6th Street East. The problem is that all that brush also goes even around the curve itself. And the problem is that when traffic is going through that area, it does not slow down. Or if people are backing out of their driveways, it can be very hard to actually see around that curb because of the brush and trees and whatnot that are obstructing the view. It is my humble opinion that it's not a matter of if, but only a matter of when a very bad, if not fatal accident is going to occur in that area if immediate steps are not taken to rectify this issue. Because to me also, the idea of my front lawn becoming the aftermath of a demolition derby gone bad or an instant trauma ward is slightly annoying. Also because you have other property damage that could be incurred if an accident like that was heard. Very bad damage, property damage. A gas meter could be hit, a tree could be hit, that could fall and damage property. And I would be remiss in my duty as a citizen if I did not bring these concerns to this council. I addressed this once about a year or so ago, but these issues have been brought to me again, and I strongly feel that action must be taken that is appropriate and most expeditious. and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ezel.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rule. I didn't get a chance to come sign the paper, and I forgot about it. And this year, I want to make an announcement of what's going on tomorrow. So I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rule so I can tell what's going on tomorrow. It's a great event.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Cale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Derek Reed,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Mr. Van?
Yes, as you know, Ms. Newton and Mr. McNabb came up here the last council meeting and to tell you about Juneteenth. The Juneteenth will be held at Elias Park tomorrow at 12 o'clock, noon till 5 o'clock. And like all the council, and thank you to the councilman and city manager and Roy and everybody up here for helping Ms. Newton out for some supplies. And we always have a great event. Everything in the park is free. All the free food you can eat, Ms. Boyston.
Oh boy.
But they have games for the kids and you know, and everything, water pop. And I wish they had that corn like they had last year, but I don't think they're going to have it in all watermelon. I wish they had that. They may have some watermelon. I hope they have some watermelon. But it's a great event, and she puts this event on each year because that's when they freed the slaves, June 19th. And I'm thankful for that. I might not even be up here talking to you if it wasn't for that. But I just like to invite everybody to come out and enjoy a good, some good barbecue tomorrow and just have fun. And that's one event I can always say. I love to see this happen. I love, up here, I love to see diversity. And that, right, when you come to the Elliott Park, that's what it'll be tomorrow, diversity. So I just wanted to make that announcement to let the people know that will be from 12 o'clock to 5 o'clock tomorrow at Elliott Park. Not Robinson Park, Elliott Park. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Let me recognize that.
Thank you, Mr. Vann. And that would conclude our Public Works meeting. Thank you.